So today we're going to break down a really powerful technique for moving through conflict, not with force, but with presence. Let's just start with a feeling I'm pretty sure we all know. It's that moment a disagreement just takes over, right? Your heart starts pounding and suddenly you feel like you're just along for the ride. So why does this happen? Well, it's because our systems are literally wired for survival. The second we perceive a threat, our body mobilizes. Emotion just floods in, and our mind immediately jumps to a strategy: argue, defend, withdraw, you name it. But this whole reflex, it often skips the most important part: what's actually true for us in the moment. All right, so for our first section, let's really dig into this conflict reflex. The entire technique we're covering today is all about one thing: how to reclaim your steering wheel when that reflex tries to take over. Okay, moving into our second section, we're going to cover the very first and honestly, the most crucial move you can make to interrupt that automatic script and get yourself back in the driver's seat. Now, the cool thing about this is, the process isn't about trying to fix anything or force yourself to be calm. It's way simpler. It's just about pausing to ask three key questions to find out what's really going on inside. So, that first step, identifying the emotion, it's like a form of inner leadership. Getting really specific, moving from a vague, I'm upset, to a precise, I feel dismissed, that stops the feeling from running you like some invisible force and instead turns it into workable data. Okay, next we check in with the body. And this is fascinating because your body reacts way before your mind even finishes a sentence. It often goes into what the source material calls armor, which is kind of like a protective suit. Think about a tight jaw, a braced belly, or even that overly agreeable smile. That's your body's deep survival intelligence at work. And then, of course, there's the mind. We've got to look at its posture. In a conflict, our mind often acts like a courtroom prosecutor, just seeking victory instead of truth, so it can feel safe. This check-in reveals that posture. It asks, hey, is my mind open and curious right now? Or is it closed off and gripping, just trying to prove a point? Doing this three-part check-in is so important because it stops us from doing what's called a spiritual bypass. That's when you try to jump straight to forgiveness while your nervous system is still screaming threat. So once we're grounded in what's actually true, then we can move to our third section, actively regulating our inner state. And this is all about achieving something called heart coherence. And I want to be super clear, this is not a metaphor. It's a real, measurable, physiological state where you move from the chaos of reactivity to an inner alignment where your perception literally expands. And the great news is, we actually have practical tools to get there. This isn't just some vague concept, it's a real practice. You can use breathwork like heart math to create that harmony, or use gratitude to shift your perspective, or even try the Taoist inner smile to send warmth to the parts of your body that are holding all that tension. Okay, let's talk about gratitude for a second, because this one needs a little delicacy, right? You are never, ever grateful for disrespect or harm, but you can be grateful for the clarity that a conflict can sometimes force into the open. The unsaid truths or the unclear boundaries it finally brings to light. So once we have that coherent inner state, we can suddenly access this much deeper intelligence. And that brings us right to our fourth section, aligning with our wisdom, that part of us that can see beyond the immediate storm. So what does that mean? Well, it means connecting to what you might call your higher self. And look, this isn't some perfect, floaty, angelic version of you. It's simply the part of you that's less attached to being right. It's the part that can witness the whole situation with a bit more space and actually see the bigger picture. So, when you're in this aligned state, you're grounded, you're coherent, you're connected to your own wisdom, that's when you can start asking totally different, way more powerful questions. You're no longer just reacting, you're starting to create. These are what the Source calls sacred questions. And they're not about finding some quick, easy answer. Nope. They're about completely reorganizing your inner posture. This first one shifts you from trying to control the other person to focusing on your own character. It asks, what quality is needed from me right now? Then there's this one. What can I let go of? This question really forces you to look at what you're gripping onto so tightly. Instead of trying to control the situation, you shift into releasing the distortions, the storylines or assumptions that are actually making you suffer more. And this one is really powerful. It helps you look at your own ingrained patterns and identify this deep conditioning that maybe isn't even true for you anymore. It asks, what outdated survival strategy are you using that isn't actually serving you? You see how asking these questions just opens up a whole new space? It's huge. And that leads us right into our final section, moving from just resolving a conflict to consciously co-creating your reality. So here's a really critical idea to grasp. Your internal state is never neutral. It's actually a frequency, a signal that you're constantly sending out, and it's continuously informing how reality organizes itself around you. Your inner posture literally becomes an instruction to the world. What this does is it allows you to hold the entire conflict inside a much larger, more coherent energetic field. It's often visualized as a torus. Think of it like a self-sustaining energy pattern. Instead of feeling like this one single point of tension, you remember that you are a whole field of awareness. And that right there, that captures the whole power shift. You literally stop being trapped by the problem. Instead, your presence becomes this stable, spacious container where the problem can actually be met and transformed. So when you put it all together, this whole process is really about becoming a responsible co-creator. It's a path that basically says, hey, regulate your inner world first before you even try to act on the outer world. Find your ground, restore your coherence, expand your presence, and then respond. So I want to leave you with this final thought. This question, really. What if that tense, super uncomfortable moment of conflict isn't something to just survive? What if it's actually an invitation? An opportunity to reorganize everything around a deeper, more authentic truth? What could that change?